We're talking about how to leverage your success from work to be successful at home. A lot of folks can feel like rock stars in their small business or at the office, but at the same time, feel like failures at home. So, how do we find a good balance that allows us to be successful in both areas? To help us win with business and family, I've invited Mark Timm on the show today. Mark has been a serial entrepreneur and exponential thinking practitioner for 2 decades. But today, Mark believes his most important role is CEO of the most valuable business in the world, his family of 6 young adults and his wife, Ann. His new book, Mentor to Millions, Secrets of Success in Business, Relationships, and Beyond, is out this month. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Hey, thanks for having me, Andy. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, you and I had a little, a little inside baseball chat before we even started the interview. I was talking about balance in that introduction, but you and I were just talking about maybe that's the folly to begin with. So can you talk about that a little bit?
One of the things that I like to just kind of get out in the open is that people who are striving for work-life balance, I have to tell you, it's a myth. I raised 6 kids. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I went on the journey for over a decade looking for work-life balance. And every time I tried to balance it, I'd fall off the log. I'd fall off, whatever cliff that I was on, because trying to truly balance, it's just a search and a journey that never ends. However, what I did find is there is something achievable for everybody listening right now, and it's called work-life integration. It was the difference maker in my life. When I finally stopped looking for balance and started integrating my work into my family, and you can kind of look at it like this, like 2 planets orbiting out there, and they're always pulling and pushing from each other, but they never quite get. In fact, what work-life balance most looks like is 2 magnets trying to attach on the opposite side. If you've ever tried to push 2 magnets together opposite of each other, you can push as hard as you want and they will always slide off. But when you take those magnets and you turn them the right direction, they snap together without any effort whatsoever. And that's where you take your work and your life and you let them orbit and integrate with each other instead of trying to push them together in this balance idea. And so when you do that, and when I did that, it changed everything. And I can only say that because I know what it's like to get it wrong, because I got it wrong for a long time. I know what it's like to search for that. I know what it's like to say, I've been put on this earth to do something extraordinary as a husband, a father, as an entrepreneur. But there's this one area that I know I could do more in. I know I could be better in, and I'm just not. And it really kind of pulls at you where it matters most. So when you get that figured out, your whole life starts to bloom and blossom from there.
Well, let's talk about the epiphany moment for you personally. When did you decide that your most important role was CEO of your family?
I pulled into my driveway. I stopped my car because I knew I didn't want to go home. Now, the reasons for not wanting to go home is maybe I filed bankruptcy, I lost a lot of money, my business is over, all kinds of things you could imagine. But the reason I didn't want to go home that day is because I just had one of the best work days of my life. I made every decision with confidence and clarity. I made one of the biggest sales I'd ever made in my life. And I sat at the end of my driveway because I didn't want the euphoria to end. I was leaving a life of confidence and clarity, and I was going home to a life of chaos and confusion. And I knew it wasn't supposed to be that way. And I was so almost ashamed of sitting down there, knowing that all of what I was feeling was about to end. And it was that moment, I call it my driveway moment, where I'm literally, every hair on my body is standing on end just telling you this story because I can put myself right there right now. And I realized I had everything upside down. I realized that actually I had it all wrong. I realized that the most valuable business that I will ever own, ever operate, ever even get to be a part of was the one I was going home to that day, not the one I went to that day. And I hit the gas and I floored it and I went home and I grabbed my wife and I go, you got to listen to me. You got to try this with me. I think I've got it figured out. And by all rights, she should have been like, get out of here, man. What are you talking about? But instead, she saw the passion and purpose in my voice and she said, let's do it. And what I did is the next day, I legally incorporated my family. You can look up my family in the incorporation register as To Be Tim's LLC, a legal corporate entity. And all I did was start applying everything that I'd ever learned in business, and I brought it home. I was really good at meetings. We started having family meetings on Sunday nights. I'm good at marketing. We created a family logo. We created a family mission statement. We did assessments in our business. I brought the DISC assessment home and gave it to my kids and to my wife so that we could appreciate the differences in each other. Everything I did to make my businesses successful, I just brought it home. And what happened is I started bringing home my first and my best instead of my last and my least. And my family did, Andy, become the most valuable business in the world, and it still is. There's no amount of money I would give for my business, and there's no role that I would rather have than being CEO of that business.
That's incredible. Well, let's take it step by step. You had that driveway moment. You came home. You had that epiphany. You spoke to your wife about it. What steps did you take to transition from where you were as a business person to then putting your family first?
What I first did is say, what am I good at in business? What makes me successful in business? And that's the cool thing. If you're listening to this and you're saying, oh my gosh, I want to try this, just say, whatever you're good at in your work, you can bring that home and be that good at home. And so I just began by doing an inventory of what do I like? What am I good at work? And how do I transition that at home? And I just did it step by step. I will tell you, the family at first thought I'd gone a little crazy. I mean, when I started holding family meetings, and when I say a family meeting, Andy, I mean not passing my wife in the hallway and saying, "What are we doing tomorrow? What are you doing tomorrow? When are you taking the kids to school?" Not sitting down at the table saying, "Hey, what's your guys' schedule this week?" I mean an on-purpose meeting where we sat down and we talk about why was our family put on this earth? What are we supposed to accomplish? How do we, get the most out of our family dynamics? How do we get stronger as a family? And all of those things that really matter most in life. And it was the first time we'd ever done this. I mean, I had teenage kids at this time. First time. I had one child. I don't think I'd ever saw them do homework in my presence. And as soon as I scheduled a family meeting, they all of a sudden had 5 hours of homework, because it was like, no, can do. But what happened is with consistency, and we had to bribe them a little bit. We don't have a lot of sweets in our house, so we started doing ice cream at the end of the family meeting, or doing s'mores, if you know what that is, at the end of the family meeting. And so then they started looking forward to the family meetings. But what also happened is they figured out I was serious, that our family was valuable, that I was serious, that they were the most valuable thing in my life because they saw it in my actions. And pretty soon they started loving family meetings because they had a voice and a vote. Okay, remember, I told you about the family business. My youngest child owned the same amount of shares that I did. So their vote counted. And it gave them such a commitment to the family. It gave them a reason to believe that they had value and that they could contribute. And so that's why I said one of the coolest things we ever did was do a family logo where everybody in the family contributed. And then we used like a logo tournament. And so when the logos were created, then they got to send it out to their grandparents, their cousins, their aunts, family, friends, and get them to vote on it, and we had this big competition. And when the final logo was selected, everyone's DNA was in it. And they were so proud of it because it represented their family. It was unique only to our family. And I would go to masterminds. I would take 2 pages for my business and 10 pages for my family. And that's what I mean by my first and my best instead of my last and my least. And so they couldn't wait for me to get home. And then I did the one thing that really demonstrates integration. I made a commitment that I would no longer travel without one of my kids with me. And for a period of 3 years, over 100 business trips, I had one of my kids with me. And I talk a lot about it in the book. My kids are all throughout the book because I was traveling with Kevin Harrington during that time frame. So my kids were with me, and a lot of conversations happened with Kevin Harrington, the original shark from Shark Tank. I mean, you think my kids didn't all of a sudden think I was just a little bit cool. And so, but they met amazing people, and their life has been forever changed because what we did on planes, what we did in hotels, what we did in Ubers couldn't be done at home. And I poured into them, and I committed to my relationship with them, and I built such a deep connection with them that I now get to mentor my children who are now young adults for the rest of their life, all because I decided to integrate, not balance work and life, but integrate and make them a part of my work world so that they respected what I did, understood what I did, and wanted to learn more. And it just gave me unlimited teaching moments for my family.
That's great. That's integration incarnate for sure. Absolutely. Very cool. So somebody's listening right now and they are excited about what you're saying. They really like this idea of family integration. What is the first thing they should do following this interview?
The very first thing they should do is they should sit down with their significant other and or whoever is a stakeholder in their family, and they should have a family meeting. Like, it became the hub of the wheel of our family. And again, you don't have to come to it with a 50-page long agenda. There can be just two or three things. It can just be, hey, we're really committed to this. We did ours on Sunday nights, by the way. We just found that was a good time to kind of reset everything for the week. And so, but they literally sit down and say, we believe that our family, or if you don't have kids yet, by the way, you can say our marriage, or even if you're out there and you're single and but you want to have a family someday, these are the kinds of things you can sit down and kind of say, all right, I want my family to mean something. I believe that my family was not an accident, that it was put on this earth for a reason. And you know what? We're going to figure that out. And we're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to go on this amazing journey together as a family. And if you got young kids, you can start this with just 5 minutes. It could be a 5-minute discussion and that grows and grows. If you got older kids, you can go 30 minutes, okay? But you start these amazing conversations about why, or if you have no kids, you start this conversation with your significant other or your soon-to-be significant other. Why were we put on this earth? What is it that we have been uniquely gifted with that we can contribute to the earth? So my adult children are coming home tonight because my niece had a baby, and that baby turned out to be born 3 weeks early. And she is, so she's back in the hospital on a respirator, and it's a tough situation. We know that's going to be expensive. So we were all together because of my daughter's birthday on Sunday, and my kids are like, what can we do? What can we do? And I just reached back into the same old bag of our family meetings, and I said, what if we all got together and we did something that we could earn some money and have all the money sent to them? Not write a check. That's easy. Easy thing is just to sit down and write a check. What's something we could do together? So we came up with something that needed to be done, and we're going to be able to earn money, and we're doing it tonight. And they're all coming back from wherever they're at. We're all going to jump in and do it, and we're having the check written to my niece for her baby. Now, again, write a check, that's easy, but everybody coming together and working hard for the good of somebody else, that's the kind of stuff you do as a family. That's where you start to really exponentially add value to your family. That's when our, using a business term, enterprise value started growing by leaps and bounds when we started doing things as a family. But that happened because of that intentional conversations we were having.
I love that. That's incredible. Well, we've heard about your book, so tell us where we can find it, and if people want to connect with you, where should they go?
So I talk a lot about these family concepts, and so I share them in my personal blog. You can meet my family at marktimm.com, so marktimm.com. For the book, it's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, but we have a link, and it's getmtm.com, so getmentortomillions.com. And we encourage people to go there because a lot of people don't have mentors or they're not sure, how to get a mentor. So Kevin Harrington, the co-author, and myself decided to do 30 days of mentorship. So if you go to getmtm.com and you buy the book and you just come back and show that you bought the book, we give you 30 days of mentorship along with a bunch of other stuff. In fact, one of the things we give them is I wrote an ebook that's called How to Win at Home Like You Win at Work. And so, and we give that away for free too. So it's just a lot of resources. Our whole goal with this book is we want this book to get in 1 million people's hands. And so you guys can help us do that by getting the book and sharing with other people, et cetera. But we want to impact millions of people through mentorship because we believe the fastest way to impact is through mentorship. And we want your journey to begin right now.
That's awesome. Mark, thank you so much for your time today. This was really impactful. I know it's going to help a lot of people. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie.